Welcome to the Small Business Surgeon Podcast, the show where we dissect the businesses of top producers, examine their growth strategies, and share with you the bare bones of their success. I am your host, Samuel Smith, and I'm glad you're here. Let's operate. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to this week's episode of the Small Business Surgeon. And guys, today's guest is one we should all pay attention to. He is an encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to buying a home, and he has a track record of more than 4,000 closed loans, which makes him in the top 1% of all mortgage originators in the country. I am very excited. Please welcome to the show, Brian Manning. Brian, nice to have you here.
Sam, thanks so much for having me. I'm just truly appreciative of the opportunity to be here. And,
awesome.
I look forward to chatting with you today.
Yeah, dude, like you've got such an interesting story, and I've been all over your websites and your Instagram. I love the fact you play guitar, so hopefully we can touch on that here in a little bit. But dude, you've been in the mortgage industry since 1998.
Yeah.
And so you don't look old enough to have been in the mortgage industry since 1998. So take us back to the beginning, dude. Were you always an entrepreneur? Is that what you always wanted to do as a young man growing up? How did you fall into this?
I was thinking about this the other day. So yeah, my first business, I guess if we call it a business, was in seventh grade.
Mm-hmm.
I convinced my parents to buy me a box of blow pops. I don't know if you remember the lollipops with bubblegum on the inside. And I did the math, and I could donate my allowance for a week, and they'd buy me a box of blow pops, and I could sell these at school for 25 cents a piece and like quadruple my investment.
Yeah.
If not more. It was crazy. And I remember the first time doing the math, like seeing how many lollipops were in there and how much I could sell them for. And like, even if I gave a bunch to friends and I ate a bunch, it was still incredibly profitable. And that was like the seed that started me, I guess, just my mindset of being an entrepreneur, like working for yourself. And then, so that was early. And then after that, I started my own lawn care business. I grew up in South Florida, and it never stops raining in South Florida, which means the grass never stops growing. So I, used our mower and started mowing neighbors' grass. And so it all started at a young age, and I never put much thought into it until the other day when I got back to the blow pop thought, and then kind of went from there.
It's so funny how many people start out by selling sweets at school. I did. That's my exact story. I was 12 years old, and we go to the candy wholesaler, and I'd get sweets, and we'd repackage them into little bags and sell them at school. Because I didn't know anything about selling drugs or any of that stuff. It doesn't cross your mind. You're 12. What's the biggest commodity when you're 12?
Candy.
And then, so many of us hop out and borrow dad's lawnmower and go and mow yards. I think it must just be something that's inherent in the genes that says, you know what, I want to go and make some money. So did you go straight to opening your own business, like straight after school, or how did that work?
Yeah. So I graduated high school. I went to college for half a year, and quickly realized that college was not for me. I'm not saying I don't believe in it. It's a great opportunity for a lot of people. It's just I always struggled in school. I never did well in school. I don't even know how I passed high school. I was always surprised when I walked the stage and graduated. So left school. And then, started working with a buddy. We were doing scuba diving travel in the out islands of the Bahamas. So out islands of the Bahamas.
Whoa, that sounds way more fun than mortgages, dude.
So much more fun. But here is the problem. So we represented these resorts in the out islands of the Bahamas. One of the resorts that we had a very small partial representation of was Atlantis Paradise Island.
Oh, right.
And one day I was on the phone with this very nice lady from Houston, Texas. And I quoted her our rate, and she says to me, I'm on Paradise or Atlantis' website, and I can book with them for $100 cheaper. I'm going to go book with them. Now, this is the 90s. Like, no one ever talked about booking on a website.
Right.
And I hung up the phone right there, and I knew I had to change industries because that was about to die, because here came the internet. I could just see it coming. And sure enough, it did. It took over, now you can book anywhere in the world through a website.
Right.
And that was when I segued into mortgage lending in 98. Yeah.
So that was it, huh? And so mortgages kill what you eat too, right?
Say that again, please.
Mortgages kill what you eat. Eat what you kill, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, oh, exactly. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like it's a, if I don't close transaction, I don't get paid. Period.
So
No
yeah,
questions asked.
a lot of us have we all have the issue. I chuckled again when you said you dropped out or you quit school after 6 months. Because I made it about 6 weeks.
Yeah,
And really just decided that hey, I can go be making money doing other
that's
stuff.
right.
Was it a scary thing for you to make that jump into mortgage lending
No,
from where you were?
I
How did you
think
get started in that?
I think I was too young and dumb, and I was just like so motivated.
Hmm.
I had no money. I had nothing to lose. So like when you already don't have anything, what's there to be scared of? I didn't have anything
Uh,
to lose, you
Dude,
know?
that's yeah,
Um,
that's very true.
so how I got started, a girlfriend at the time worked in a real estate company,
Hmm.
and there's a partnership in there. Their names were Evan and Jerry, and they
Hmm.
were sick of giving their loans to whoever their mortgage lender was, and they decided
Right.
to open up their own mortgage company. At the time, back in the 90s, you could have like small mortgage brokerage companies.
Hmm.
So my girlfriend told me about it, and she's like, "Hey, you should call these guys." So I called them. I went and I met with them. And I just said, "Hey, I would love to work for you. I know you're opening a mortgage company." And they said, "Sure, go get licensed and you have a job." I don't even know why they said yes. And so licensing at the time was 2.5 days, half day Friday,
Oh
all
wow.
day Saturday, all day Sunday. So I immediately signed up for school. I got licensed and started working with them right away, really quick.
Oh, so starting out then, like, and looking back, what's something you wish you'd known in that first few weeks that you learned rather quickly? What's something you wish you'd known starting out?
Um, I mean, starting out was just I don't think it's what I wish I learned. I think it's probably what I learned, which was really good, was that they basically handed me the business,
Hmm.
but I didn't know anything about it, and I had to go figure it out.
Right.
There was no processors, there was no support staff, they had buyers, I was the mortgage lender, figure it out. And I don't think that it's. I think what I learned is just the power of being resourceful, the power of leaning into your resources,
Hmm.
the power of asking questions and admitting when you don't know something and then trying to navigate the process. I think that's really valuable. But admitting you don't know something is one thing, but then you have to have the tenacity to really dig deep and go figure out the answers and the solutions. So, I learned really quickly that it was all about being resourceful. And
Hmm.
I think that's a big thing about being an entrepreneur is kind of being stubborn and resourceful at the same time.
I definitely hear the stubbornness bit.
Yeah.
Definitely. So what was it like starting out building that company? Did it take you longer than you thought? Was it harder than you'd imagined?
So yeah, it was really hard. At the time, there was no brand recognition, no, everything was different. There was no social media then. It was much harder to build local brand
Oh,
recognition
that's
at
true.
that time,
Janelle, you were
Um,
that was the Stone Age, wasn't it?
it was the Stone Age. A lot of
Using
people
the
advertised in the
yeah.
Yellow Pages, which was the phone book, and it
Yes.
was like that or park benches at bus stops,
I
or
remember that too.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, or real estate magazines. So the challenge is that there wasn't a lot of marketing mediums available at that time. Right now,
Right,
you could
right.
just like Google SEO. The list goes on and on and on where you want to spend
Mm,
money right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the challenge was being young and getting people to trust me because I
Yes,
was new
yeah.
in the business. And I think
Hmm.
that's a challenge that every young person has becoming self-employed. And
Yeah.
you got to fight through it. You got to persevere. There's no secret recipe there, you know?
I mean, there really isn't, and a lot of people, especially in the real estate industry, um, they see age as a barrier. They
That's
don't
right.
want to take advice from people that are younger than
Yeah,
them, even though they've got the skill set. And
that's right.
you have a 26-year-old with 8 years experience selling
Yeah,
houses.
that's right.
Um, yeah, it's difficult. That the best thing I managed to do was grow a beard.
Right. Yeah, you're right. And people put a lot of age. I read this article a while ago. I don't remember what it was. It was basically comparing like a 55-year-old surgeon
Hmm.
to a surgeon that is like 3 years, 4 years in practice, and that the younger one actually does better. The older
Mm,
one might have more advice or more experience, but the older surgeon is kind of set in their ways. They don't need to do the surgery.
right.
They,
Yeah.
they just like they've done it. Maybe they're slightly careless, whereas the younger surgeon is like out of school, well educated, has a lot to prove, more
Mm,
careful. So, back to what you said about real estate, it's not really an age thing. I've met a lot of young realtors. So I love working with young realtors. I love
hmm
working, you can meet certain people that you just know when you meet them that they're entrepreneurs at heart, they're good at what they
Yep.
do, and they care, and that they're just going to give it everything. So I love working with new realtors in the business and young people and kind of helping guide them because I think that the right people, they're going to grow. They're going to do really well.
Absolutely. And it's not just realtors. I mean, I think that
No.
goes through all businesses. The
Yeah.
clients I look at, when you've got guys in their 50s that this is the way we've always done it, this is the
Right.
way we're going to do it, and their stuff operates off of pen and paper.
Yeah.
And then you've got guys in their 20s who might not have the operational knowledge that these guys have, but they've got far more willingness to
That's
listen and
right.
implement new ideas. And man, the speed these kids execute at,
That's totally
it's like
different.
they were born on the internet,
Yeah.
And
Totally different. Yeah.
it,
And
it sorry, go on.
no, I was saying to me now, it's all about speed and execution. Everything is
Yes.
speed and execution. So
Yeah.
yeah, younger people are just faster. You're exactly what you just said. They've grown up and they're growing up in an era
hmm
of speed and execution. You know,
Well, I've said this several times before, but if you equate like us and older to monkeys, and if you equate us and younger to fish,
yep,
the water levels rising, and pretty soon we're going to run out of trees, and it's just going to be all fish and
yeah,
water.
pretty
Like,
much.
and for generations, the monkeys have ruled the land, and now the fish, man, I can't keep up with that.
Yeah,
It's a complete change, which is, I think that's good, man. I like to see these kids. There's nothing more frustrating to me than trying to teach a grown up how to work a computer, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And
It's just um, change stirs the pot,
mhm.
right? It's like change is an opportunity in disguise, and competitive people like change. Like let's just
Yes.
take real estate and mortgage lending for example. You look at the last couple of years, a
hmm
ton of people got into this industry in the U.S. And some of them are freaking out right now. But there's a lot of very highly competitive people. They're looking at this, and change stirs the pot, and they're happy with what's happening. So, young people come in, they create change. Change stirs the pot.
Man, never in history has there been an opportunity to own a marketplace like there is now.
Oh gosh, yeah,
By just like you come into any new marketplace in any industry, and within 6 to 9 months of consistent content and posting and paid traffic, you can dominate anybody. Like
that's true.
it's unbelievable how much opportunities out there for these guys that want to do the work.
I
And
agree.
so,
But I think the what you have to do, you have to figure out who your client is
mhm.
very clearly and
Mm.
focus on your client. I think a lot of
Yes.
people, it's a very big shotgun approach.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But
and it's like, I'll
this,
give you like an
yeah,
example.
speak on it for a minute, because
Yeah,
far too many people say, "Oh, anybody that needs a mortgage is my ideal client." That's absolutely untrue. So talk us
it's
through
not
that.
true. Yeah. So like
Yeah.
my client is the realtor,
hmm
100% super clear, no questions asked. All right. Someone else's client might be Google SEO. That's just what they're built to do. Someone else's client might be first time home buyers, and someone else might not know. They're just on this shotgun approach trying to get everything from everyone everywhere. And the shotgun approach just doesn't work. So circling back to what you said, can you go into a marketplace and start experiencing domination relatively quickly?
hmm
Absolutely, if you identify who your client is, and then you're very honed, you have honed impact on your clients and your marketing. So I totally agree with you, but you have to know your client.
Welcome to Intermission.
So I don't run commercials on the show, but if I did, I'd remind you about our free community on School, the Clinic, a place where you can learn from me, the small business surgeon, and get direction, support, and accountability from others in the group. To create your free account, go to followsam.live and click Join the Clinic. All right, thanks for that. Back to the show.
Thank you. Come again.
Crystal clear.
Oh, yeah, I'd go grab the top 10% of realtors and just start networking, start
That's
going to
right.
work. Find the guys that are putting in who sells the most of the thing that you sell.
That's
Like
it.
that's
Yeah.
literally it. But I don't blame the business owner for not figuring that out because it's not
No,
taught in school. And what's taught is I need to sell a mortgage. Who needs a mortgage?
that's right.
As opposed to how do I do this
Yeah,
like strategically over time and get the amount of repeat business you get because
that's right.
you get nearly 40% referral business now.
Yeah.
You tell me a little bit about how you've done that and about how you provide value to realtors so that it makes you the first choice.
Yeah. So I think this, when you identify your client, then you have to identify what's the pain that they're experiencing,
Hmm.
regardless of the market, right? 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the pain was you had to pay 300 grand above list price.
Hmm.
Right now interest rates are higher. Whatever it is, like I think it's you have to identify what their pain is, and then you have to come up with solutions and how do you help heal their pain. And if you can identify your client,
Hmm.
their pain points, and then how you help them heal their pain points, you will have clients for life.
And dude, you've nailed it because that all starts with identifying the client,
That's right.
which is if you have that opinion, anybody that wants to buy a house, then you'll never identify the client, and then you can
No,
never narrow that focus down.
that's right.
Dropping gold, Brian. Thank you.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
well
it's,
done.
you think there is investors, first time home buyers, second
Hmm.
homes,
Hmm.
agricultural land, mountain properties. I mean, so I do agree with you. Yeah. I mean, technically, we could help anyone over the age of 18 in the US qualify for a mortgage and buy a house, but that's
Right.
just too big of a net. It's too big of a shotgun approach. So
Hmm.
you got to really get detailed in what you want to focus on there.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely helped every business I've been involved in
Yeah.
to focus them down, and most guys just never figure out who their ideal client is, like
Yep.
which is quite the surprise. But like,
Right.
I
And
guess
it's a hard thing to
that's why we're
figure
here.
out. Yeah. Right. It's worth going to the drawing board and putting the effort into really identifying. And you might figure out like, oh, I think that this is my client. But when you really tear it down to their pain points, how you're going to help, soothe their pain points, you might realize like I don't have anything to bring to the table
Hmm.
to soothe their pain points. Like I'll give you an example: Google SEO. I could do, there's home buyers there. That could be a client. Their pain point is they just want the lowest interest rate possible. They don't care about anything else. Well, I don't offer the lowest rate. So for me to go advertise Google SEO and spend all that money to pull in the person that just wants the cheapest price ever, that's not my client. So I might be able to spend the money and get the phone to ring, right? To bring in the
Yeah.
inbound business. But
Hmm.
I don't, their pain is they want the lowest rate possible. I can't fix their pain. So
Right.
I'm now a mismatch for them.
But that's a very important lesson as well because like again it's back to the not everybody's an ideal client,
That's
but
right.
if you're constantly finding yourself dealing with clients whose only pain point and only motivation is the price of your service,
Yep.
then that's suggesting you might want to change your advertising strategies because you don't want to pull in the guys that are focused on price. You want to pull in the guys that are focused on the value and the result.
That's right.
Like, yeah, lessons
100%.
learned, man. It's, I mean, you just well, again, no, we're raised in a system that says the cheaper the thing is, the
That's
easier
right.
it is to sell. And so the people's first thing they do is they knock their price down, but they never build their value up. And
Yeah,
so I'm trying to teach that, hey, when you add value, the price doesn't matter a lot
that's
to a
true.
lot of people. It's the value and the convenience and the efficacy of the solution that
That's right.
matters.
The
Anyways.
challenge is you go to Amazon.
Hmm.
There's two white Hanes t-shirts,
Hmm.
identical, and one is $1 cheaper. Which one do you buy?
Yeah, I see. I'm going to read the reviews and see what the fulfillment times are, and
Yeah, but saying
I
they're pretty similar. You
well,
know, or
if they're similar, obviously, yeah, I'm going to go get
yeah,
the cheaper one. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, the challenge is we just live in such an instantaneous society that we in all of our shopping and what we do, we gravitate towards the cheapest.
right,
And that's just general. Just as consumers, we don't know any better. That's just what we
correct. Yeah,
gravitate to. We don't know to ask the questions of, oh, you're a realtor. How are you going to help me? How are you going to negotiate on my behalf?
yeah,
If it's a for sale by owner, walk me through your process. What's your presentation and your scripted process to convey value to a prospective client? And if you don't have presentation and scripted process, you're done. You're right
yeah,
there. All you can fall back on is fees. You know?
man. Like, I mean, that's why I did so well selling real estate is,
Yeah.
this was 2017, twenty
Yep.
eighteen, and I had videos on iPads with, Matterport and drone and all
Yeah.
the graphics and stuff that we'd
Right.
made ourselves. And instantly, oh, well, this guy's got 6 pictures and this guy's got 40 pictures, top ranking on Zillow and all these
That's
videos,
right.
and it's the same price. Well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
man, I ended up, I didn't like selling houses as much as I thought I would.
I would be a horrible realtor. It's not the career for me.
Uh, Dude, it's the career for me. I just focus on selling buildings now, like
There you
just
go.
not houses.
Yeah.
I like to
That's the
do
way to do it.
I
I
like to do
like
the
it.
commercial stuff. But yeah, houses. No, I like the spreadsheets, and I like clients
Yep.
that buy from data, and then again, tracing down my ideal client.
That's
You
right.
know, it wasn't a middle-aged couple looking for a second home.
That's
It just
right.
wasn't. And
Yep.
so I only discovered that after years of serving all these first-time home buyers, couples, all this everything, and
Right.
I didn't really like it,
Yeah.
and it's tough to say that out loud. So, anyways, back to you, Brian, because
Yeah.
you've got a whole lot of stuff that I want to talk about, and we don't have a whole lot of time. So I want to talk about like when things go wrong. What's the biggest mistake you feel as though you've made in business, and what did you do to correct it?
The biggest mistake is when something goes wrong, you don't pick up the phone right away.
Oh, bravo!
So here's the thing. The
Yes,
first day you don't pick up
yes.
the phone and there's a problem, the phone weighs 5 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
The second day you don't pick up the phone when there's a problem, the phone weighs 20 pounds. You can still get it with one hand, but you're not loving it. The
Yeah.
third day you don't pick up the phone, that phone weighs like 75 pounds. Like it's really getting hard. The fourth day, it weighs so much you can't pick it up. And I think we all make mistakes.
Mm.
I've been doing this for 25 years. I couldn't even tell you. If you said like, what was your greatest mistake? I have no idea. There's a whole list of them. It just goes on, and we all do.
Yeah, yeah.
The thing is, call your client, call your realtors, whoever it is, just call them right away and admit what you did, and just talk with them about like, here's a mistake, and try and be resourceful and come up with an alternative solution
Yeah.
in addition to why you're calling them.
Yeah.
Um,
I I couldn't agree more,
yeah,
man. Like, because even like people see your social media, they see my social media, they think there's no mistakes. They think it's like amazing all the time. And no,
right.
there's weekly things where stuff doesn't go as you intend. And
Of course.
like I couldn't even conceive getting to the end of day one now without addressing the problem.
Right.
Um, but it's only through the mistake of, oh, this has gone wrong. Well, I don't want to talk about it.
That's right.
Um, and it does. You're right. It weighs heavier and heavier
Yeah.
as you go on things. And
Yeah, and
so,
then you just can't do anything about it. Then you are just screwed. You've burned bridges, you're ruining relationships. The thing is that relationships are hard to build, and
yes.
people have more respect for you if you're honest and upfront and transparent, whether it's good news or bad news.
Hmm.
It's like being married. It's every day is not amazing. So I'm just saying that you got to take the good with the bad, and a true partner, for me as realtors, a true partner, they understand that like, hey, majority of the time we're going to deliver
Hmm.
everything. Every so often something's going to happen, and when something comes up, you're going to hear from me right away. No delays. We're going to come up with a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I could underline that and have people listen to it twice. The, for me, the higher up I go in business, the more my job is problem solving,
Right.
which means that every day there's a problem to solve.
That's right.
And so
Absolutely.
when you don't disclose it to the people you work with, how on earth are you supposed to make any progress?
I
Um,
100% agree.
but I think a lot of it has to do with some imposter syndrome with people and
Yes.
them not feeling confident in their own abilities, and therefore they avoid the conversation.
That's
And
right.
yet the only way you can get better is to have the conversation.
Yeah,
Like, so it's a
for
catch
sure.
22 these guys get into. Like, um,
So I moved to Colorado 13 years ago,
mhm,
and I met a realtor, highly successful. The best thing he ever did for me was, and we were closing several transactions a month. Every month we'd meet up for lunch or coffee, and he would tell me what the clients didn't like.
that's a good one.
Unbelievable, because sometimes people are afraid to convey to you like, oh, a mistake was made. You didn't realize it, you didn't bring it up, and they'll convey to their realtor, hey, here's where Brian dropped the ball or whatever it was. the most valuable learning I ever had was meeting with this guy and him just being very honest and just brutally telling me like, here's what so and so didn't like about your process, and then you could go work on it because now you know what to do.
Yeah, you've got direct feedback,
That's
which,
right.
and again, oftentimes clients won't give you that because they're afraid of hurting your feelings,
That's
but they
right.
will give it to that third party,
That's right.
just out of frustration. And
Yeah,
man, it's life's so much easier when you tell the truth and
that's
people
right.
are willing to give feedback. But
I agree.
they say, I don't have any feelings, so you're not going to hurt them.
That's how I feel. Been doing this long enough. Just tell me what it is. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah, no
Yep.
doubt. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the way you've been able to create authority in business, and I'm thinking from like the position of a young loan officer that's looking to emulate you in the career. Um, so how do you position yourself to go out and get business and to keep those referrals high and to keep that follow up high because we know it costs a heck of a lot more to
Mhm.
find a client than it does to serve a happy client and
That's
re-engage
right.
them. So
Absolutely.
can you talk a little bit again for the realtors and for the brokers, mortgage brokers that are coming on and listening to this? Can you talk a little bit about how you've managed to build your authority in the space?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I started doing presentations and public speaking.
Hmm.
I really started doing them like 12 years ago. I kind of dabbled in it probably about 17, 18 years ago. And, but I really got focused on it about 12 years ago. Again, it circles back to what's my clientele, realtors, what's their pain point, figure it out, prepare a presentation, and teach them how to put a band-aid or neosporin on their pain points. So I've always been a big believer in scripted process and presentations.
Hmm.
And then I think when you really deliver a great presentation and you've stood on stage, whether it's at the board of realtors, a lunch event you've hosted,
Hmm.
whatever it is, you then have great reason to call that person after and go meet with them
Hmm.
because you didn't have to
Yeah.
sell anything. You sold yourself by just being the ultimate professional.
I love it. And this is, guys, this is something you should be listening to and taking note of. So what Brian's done is put together presentations about how stuff works for people that don't understand what he does in his
Yep.
target audience. And then he stands on stage. And when you're on stage and when you've got a microphone on and when there's slides behind you, you are an
Yep.
instant authority in your
Instant.
specialist subject.
That's right.
So in the minds of the people that Brian's now in front of, he has created himself as the number one authority in the mortgage business
That's right.
at that present time.
That's it.
So
Yeah.
like and you said you hosted your own events as well.
We do.
Like,
Yeah. Like I have 6 or 7 coming up right now. The topic right now is winning the buyer presentation, taking advantage of the NAR settlement. I truly
oh,
believe
let's
that.
yeah, let's talk about that because
Yeah.
I was just my partner Nina, she is she's a realtor.
Okay.
We were just talking about that this morning and the implications of what it's going to do economically for the home buyers, especially at the bottom
Mhm.
end of the market that are dependent
Yep.
on the 3% down kind of stuff from the
That's right.
FHA. So let's
Yeah.
yeah, dude, I'd forgotten about that and I knew I wanted to talk to you about something.
Well, I think a couple of things. So Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA just announced that the seller can give a credit towards. Let me back up. So say you put down 5%,
Hmm.
you're only allowed to get a 3% seller credit.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. So you put down 5%, you get 3% to pay your closing costs. But Fannie, Freddie, and FHA just announced that the seller can give a credit towards the buyer's real estate commission,
Hmm.
and that's independent of the 3% credit that the seller's also allowed to give towards closing cost,
That will help.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
So essentially, a buyer's agent could make an offer and say, in my offer, I offer you whatever, $500,000 for this home. I ask for my 2.8% commission. And then I'm also asking for a 3% seller credit for my buyer. And that
Mhm.
doesn't, the real estate commission doesn't impact the seller credit. So
Yeah.
that's huge right there because really
That is, yeah.
the reality is sellers have been financing, sellers have been financing in the
Mhm.
purchase price this commission the whole time.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
It's there's no difference. So if you make an offer and you're just getting a seller credit for that, that's exactly what's already happening. Because if a seller looks at their net sheet, sales price minus real estate commissions minus mortgage payoff is net proceeds. So
Mhm.
it's the same process. So um, I feel like that part will shake itself out really well. I think what's going to happen though is, it's like 9 out of 10 realtors and mortgage lenders don't have a scripted process.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of people that don't know how to sit down with the buyer and convey the value they're going to bring to them and how they get paid.
That's exactly what we were talking about this morning.
Yeah,
It's being able to differentiate
that's
yourself from
right.
the others. And like let's touch on how much realtors are paid for a second.
Yep,
Um, I think they could be paid a little bit more, to be fair. It's a very challenging job. There's a lot of
it
moving
is.
parts and outside of the ones because what is there about an 87% failure rate in the first
It's
18
a
months?
high percentage. Yep,
Because it's hard work and because it's incredibly technical. There's a lot of moving parts in a real estate
yep,
deal. And so I feel as though, people see it as a realtor getting 6%, and it's not. By the time the realtor pays the broker and the brokerage fees
that's
and
right.
everything else, they end up with about 2.2%.
That's
And then
correct.
out of that, they have to do all of the marketing
That's right.
themselves. They have to do all the driving around themselves. They have to
Yep,
pay the license. They have to pay their association fees. They have to pay all these fees. And so, when the like in my market, the average home price now is $334,000.
yep,
So that estate agent is netting about 65 to 7,000 bucks per
yep.
transaction. They do. Now, when I was doing it was $234,000. So
Right.
it was even less. But when somebody wants to go in at and offer the buyer's agent 1%, what does that do to the buyer agent's business? Because I don't think there's going to be any successful buyers agents taking clients at 1%. I think it's still going to stay right around that 3% mark for each side.
I think I agree with you. I think it's going to stay at that higher threshold. Um, I think you might find some people that come in more at a flat rate. Like I
Mhm.
was reading an article, and he was in California, and his thing was to help you buy a house. I'm 9,750 is my fee, and to help you sell a house, I'm 15,750. So I think you're going to see some creativity in there of people that will work their way through this process. But in general, I do agree with you. You're not going to see much change.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's because if these guys sell the value right, you know,
That's right.
anybody will take anybody will take a buyer client on.
That's right.
But if you've done 200 transactions and you know exactly how to get that buyer more money and you know exactly
That's
how to
right.
hook the buyer up with the mortgage broker, you're worth every bit of the
That's
3%.
right. Yeah. The difference is before a buyer's agent never had to address cost or price. They
Mhm.
performed and the seller paid their fee.
Correct.
Now you have to go to your client, convey to them your cost, your price,
Mhm.
and what you're going to do to earn it. And a lot of them, unfortunately, just not comfortable or they don't even know how to talk with them. They don't have a process in there to convey this. So I think you're going to see some people that this does not intimidate at all. They're
Mhm.
super excited for it and they're just going to crush it. They're probably going to do better now than they ever did before. And then you're going to see a lot of people that don't. Now you're on the commercial side. Am I right that on the commercial side, realtors, a buyer side realtor, aren't don't you negotiate your fee there? Isn't it customary not to be paid by the seller?
Everything's negotiable. Like
See?
everything.
Yeah. So you're already used to
Yeah.
it. I talked to a commercial agent the other day who does some residential, and he's like, "This doesn't scare me. I've been
Mhm.
negotiating my fees forever."
Yeah, it does it.
So
And most commercial fees are less than 3%, but it depends also what you're selling and whether there's a business entity involved and all there's all
right.
kinds of variables on it. So
Yep.
everything's negotiable based on the value of the asset you're selling and the value you bring. And you might have
Right.
two or three guys working the deal as opposed to one.
Yep.
It just varies, you know?
Yeah.
So as
So
I
for me, so like our class we're doing, it's winning the buyer presentation, taking advantage of our settlement. The pain point there is most realtors don't have a presentation and a scripted process to sit down with the buyer and eloquently explain what they do and earn their business. So we know that's a pain point. So our band-aid is let's go teach them.
I love that. Maybe I should just be teaching realtors. Like
I don't get paid to teach, so you got to have a follow-up to make some money in thereafter, you know?
yeah, well, I no, I have I consult, but I have an accountability program for entrepreneurs, and
Amazing.
I never thought for a minute to target a realtor. I just don't. Can't say that out loud. As I say, I don't like realtors.
But it
It's a
is.
no. Honestly, I love the top 5, 10% of the
Yep.
market. Like the guys that have their systems down, and your team works with their team, and boom, and it's done. It's transactional. I don't like the 87% that quit every
Yeah.
year.
It is interesting. You're right. There's a small percentage that operates truly like a business, regardless of the company they work for.
Yeah,
It's their business in a business. They're very streamlined.
those are the
You're right.
guys I love. We
That's
we
the
can get some
top.
work done. Yeah.
And then there's the other part. The funny thing is this. So say I have a lunch appointment,
Hmm.
crusher, like number one in the marketplace. And then I have a lunch appointment with a newer realtor. Guess who never misses the lunch appointment because they're organized? The crusher. Never.
I mean,
But
it's like, but
it
I
blows me
knew,
away.
dude, I knew you wouldn't be late to this meeting before I
Yeah.
turned it on. And I turned the
Yeah.
meeting on 5 minutes early, and boom, you were there. You were in
Yeah.
it because
Yeah.
I looked at your socials. I looked at how you carried yourself. I'm like, this guy's gonna be on time. I had a guy the other day that renovates vans and has long hair and a surfboard and completely missed the show.
Yeah.
You can just, I
Totally
don't
different.
I don't mean that badly,
No, I
but
get it.
you can tell, and like these guys don't get it. But one of the guiding principles of success is if you show up on time every time and you do the things you say you're going to
That's it.
do every time, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. It's
Doesn't get
interesting
much
though.
easier.
Just think about the some quick bullet points you've had already.
Yeah.
Show up on time,
Mm-hmm.
do your job,
Mm-hmm.
admit when you make mistakes, very clearly identify who your client is and figure
Right.
out what their pain points are.
Yeah.
Like there you go. That's a recipe for success right there. Everyone's looking for like what's the blueprint? That's the blueprint. Now you
Uh,
got to
yeah.
figure out how that works for you.
And the one thing everybody misses is they'll try it for 3 days. And then they'll quit and they say, this doesn't work. Like,
Yeah.
in order for, like what I said about market domination earlier, you can do it, but it's a 6 to 9 month process. You're going to have to
Yeah.
work on it every day, every work day during a day, filming and making stuff and
Yeah.
consistently becoming that authority in the space.
You know the difference? Pros practice and amateurs don't.
It's
Do
pretty
you
much
think
it.
Michael Jordan practiced even at like the top of his career?
Every single,
Hell yeah. He
I
had
know he
like
did.
trainer after trainer, practice after Kobe Bryant in the gym at
Mhm.
3, 4 a.m. It's
They
just
had
like,
they had the same trainer. They had the same coach,
yeah.
Tim
Tim
Grover.
Grover.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
It's
I mean,
just they practice.
I wouldn't dare miss a practice if Tim Grover was my coach. I've read his books, man. He's probably
That's two
beat
of
me.
us. So you're right. You exactly what you said is correct. It's like you think about it this way: as a mortgage lender, you're new. You
Right.
call 5 realtors because you want to see if they'll meet with you. All 5 say
Mhm.
no. Well, a lot of people just get defeated and they stop there, and it's like you can't. You got to call 5, 100, 200, whatever your number
Mhm.
is. It's all about
Yeah,
consistency. It's just swinging the bat.
man. I hired a business coach in 2018
Yep.
into 2017 because I wanted to be the best realtor I could be.
Yep.
And I used to have 2 jars on my desk and 5 coins.
Yeah.
And I would take them out of one jar, make 5 phone calls, and for each phone call, I put them back in the other jar. And
Yep.
that they were just tiny little jars, but
Yeah.
it was a visual because, like, so we're all technicians, right? We all like doing the job that we do.
That's right.
And the last thing we want to do is sell. The last thing we want to do
Yeah.
is call. The last thing we want to do is network. As a
Yep.
technician, you have to have a business owner mindset. You have to flip that
That's
switch
right.
and go, how do
Yeah.
I create sales for the
Yeah.
technician to complete? And so I think having those coins on my desk and understanding that if I didn't make those calls, like my coach would say, conversations create closings.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. And a little trick for how to make conversations. You know what
Yeah,
I mean,
I got
just
2 things there. So someone told me you got to circulate to percolate. You got to make contacts to get contracts. And the second
yeah.
thing is there's a book. It's Fanatical Prospecting.
Oh, let me write that down.
I don't remember who the author is. He's pretty well known in the business community.
Got it.
And basically, the reality is that prospecting is hard.
It is.
It's emotionally draining. It's tiring. It's the hardest thing you'll do all day, every day of your career.
Now I've got your attention. Just take a minute and pause. Imagine your business running the way it's supposed to. Your inbox is cleared, your social media posts are scheduled, leads are being called in real time, all while you're meeting for lunch with your newest client. You're free to focus on what actually matters, growing your company, closing deals, building your brand. a virtual assistant can transform how you work, and that is where I can help. If you are ready to see how a vetted, trained virtual assistant can take your business to the next level, go to followsam.live and just click on that big green button. It really is that simple. All right, thanks for listening. Back to the show.
Here, hands down, like there's no one that could tell you that when they're done, they're not tired. When they're done, they're not emotionally drained. The reality is like when you moved your coins from one cup to another, by the time you were done, you're tired.
I was done. I'm
You're
done.
done.
Leave me alone.
And we all know that. So it's easy to just go check email or just do whatever else you want to do. It's really hard to want to go do that. But that's where it's at.
I mean, that's why I created a local business owners group.
Nice.
I have a networking group with 3,000 business owners in, and
Yep.
I have pretty automatic 2 or 3 leads a day coming out of my
Beautiful.
2 Facebook groups.
Yep.
But it took several years to build that authority because of
Yep.
just how important prospecting is.
That's right.
Like there's no other way to really create business on a personal level. You can
No.
put as many ads on the internet out as you want, but if people don't
That's
know
right.
you, like you, and trust you, they're not going to buy from you.
No, but I
Right?
still think it comes back to you have to have something you deliver for value, right? If I just
Yes.
call 20 realtors today that I don't know, hey, this is Brian Manning, would you like to meet me for coffee? No one's going to say yes.
No.
All right. But if I deliver a presentation, winning the buyer presentation, right? I'm teaching them something and I call 20 realtors after the class, I'm probably getting appointments with 10 to 15 of them.
Yeah.
It's
And
a
they
huge
already
dynamic.
trust you. They
That's
already
right.
trust you because you've been the authority on the stage,
Yeah.
teaching them things that they didn't know.
Yeah. But you
And
think about how that level of prospecting, presentation creating, marketing, butts and seats, delivery of presentation, all only to actually get to the phone call to then go meet them for coffee.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard,
But
worth it.
oh, it's totally worth it because by the time they meet you for coffee, they've already seen you 6, 7, 8, 10 times, whatever it
right.
is. And so, like the way I do it is, again, we record content, we put out these
Yep.
podcasts. I do, different CRM things, how to do X inside of Y to get Z result, and I just post it all for free. And
Yep.
then again, it leads to the opportunity to have a conversation.
That's right.
But when I do, they already know who I am and they've already
right.
seen what I can do. And
I love it.
I try to teach that to every single person. Go and validate yourself in your space, become the authority to your potential
That's right.
clients and let them see you in that light.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that's exactly what you've done. I mean, I love looking at your Instagram and your website stuff, man.
Thank you.
You nail it with your content. Man, there's too much to cover. I want to know about your guitar playing because I see several guitar pictures up there on Instagram.
Oh, that's a very short story. It's really hard. It's way harder than I thought when I got a guitar. I was like, oh, I'll play guitar. This can't be that bad. It's brutal. It's like prospecting. Like I have to practice 20 minutes a day.
Yep.
And then even, it's just hard. There's no way around it. I'm not a natural musician by any means, but I've always loved acoustic guitar, just all variations of it from like flamenco style to folk music. It doesn't really matter. I just always loved acoustic guitar. But it's way harder than I thought it would be. It's really hard.
Well,
for me at least.
Just don't quit. All right.
Yeah. You just got to keep going.
I've been playing about 5 years.
Okay.
And there's a couple of Rosetta Stone moments I've had where the whole thing just makes sense more.
Amazing.
Probably the best advice I can give you is that, you always play scales up and down.
Yes.
They run side to side. The pentatonic scale runs sideways on 2 strings. You can go all the way up the guitar, all the way back, and it repeats all up and down the neck. And when I learned that, dude, the whole thing just unlocked for me.
Nice.
So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'm learning. It's a work in progress.
Well, I always wanted to learn. I was a professional drummer, and I always thought the guitar player was the coolest guy ever because he could make it go squeal and make all those noises. And like
exactly.
And I said to a mate, I've been meaning to. He said, well, you're 39. If you don't start now, when will you? And so yeah, that was 4.5 years ago. I picked up a guitar.
Nice.
And
that's awesome. Congratulations. That's exciting.
They'd always be learning, right? There's always something new to play with.
That was my thing is it's, learning something new opens up neural pathways in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get older, it's, it's less gray matter or less neural pathways opening. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do it was like, have something really challenging that I can continue to work on that impacts your brain positively. You're opening new neural pathways, and I think it's helpful for you.
Yes, 100%. All right. I'm going to end the show a little bit differently today, because you have an encyclopedia of knowledge, and we have an audience full of entrepreneurs. And one of the things entrepreneurs really struggle with is getting a mortgage, as you probably
Yes.
know. So, can you talk us through some options for entrepreneurs and how they can approach like getting a mortgage and getting finance and getting into a house, knowing that um, we don't really show income on tax returns. The whole
Yeah,
point of it's to minimize our exposure there. And
of
so
course.
that can be hugely detrimental to mortgage applications.
For
So
sure.
take us through that from an entrepreneur kind of perspective.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge with mortgage lending is that no one cares about your tax return until you go to get a mortgage,
Yeah.
right? Like it just you don't need your tax return for really anything else. Even if you go buy a car, you
Mm,
probably don't need, providing your credit is okay, you probably don't need income documentation for
no.
most cars. So mortgage lending is the one area where we're peeling back the onion and we're looking at your taxes. And the challenge is entrepreneurs want to pay as little in tax as possible,
Mhm.
which means they're claiming the most amount of expenses as possible.
Correct.
And so there's bank statement loans that are available. So bank statement loans say you're self-employed. We take 12 or 24 months of your business bank statements. We add up all your deposits. We get a P&L from you. We look at your expense ratio in the P&L. Let's just say you're at, a 20% expense ratio. So we add up all your deposits. We subtract 20%. We give you 80% credit for your income. And
Hmm.
then we can use that for qualifying purposes. The thing to know is you're going to pay someplace.
Right.
So you're either going to pay in tax liability because you're claiming more income on your tax return, which means you're going to get a lower interest rate, or you're going to pay less tax liability and take a bank statement loan and pay a higher interest rate. You just
Right.
have to pick your
Right.
poison. Like the mortgage lending is available for a self-employed person that doesn't claim or they claims more expenses on their tax returns maybe than they should or could, whatever. Um, you're going to pay somewhere. It's just a matter of picking your poison of where do you want to pay. You don't get to limit tax liability and then get a lower interest rate. It just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. But there's plenty of options available.
Yeah.
You're just electing who you want to pay or how you want to pay for the benefit.
Yeah. Yeah. It just, I do feel for some entrepreneurs, it's like they're stuck on this wheel and they can't ever get off. And so, do you think it's beneficial to pay the higher taxes for a couple of years and show that income? Is that an easier way to get it done?
Here's what's really interesting is so many loan products, um, if you've been in business for 5 years or longer, only require 1 year of tax returns.
Mm,
So, like, it's 2023
mhm.
filing right now. It was yesterday, but
Yeah.
we talked to a lot of self-employed people that are saying, "Well, hey, what if I file, a strong 2023 return, buy a mortgage, and change in the future?" It's none of our business what you do in the future. Anyone's
Right.
business
Right.
expenses could increase. So,
Mhm.
my answer would be probably it's likely beneficial to talk to a mortgage lender that knows self-employed income calculations really well and can guide you through the process, and an accountant that you can go back to and say, "Hey, here's what I'm thinking. What does this look like for a tax liability?" And go from there. So,
Yes.
probably it's probably worth that 1 year of tax returns. Yes, I would agree with you.
That's pretty good advice, man.
Yeah,
That might be so. And other than buying a distressed property, seller financed on a subject to, and doing a wrap mortgage, I
yeah,
think it's probably that's.
yeah.
I never did feel comfortable with the legalities of that.
No, and that's a whole different conversation, and that's a very different process there,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
does not work for everybody,
No,
it just
no,
doesn't.
no, not at all, man. Dude, this has been a lot of fun hanging out, Brian.
Absolutely.
I got just a couple more questions, and I kind of
Yeah, go for it.
let you go. Now, earlier on, you mentioned fanatical prospecting, the book.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things I like to ask is what are some impactful books that you've read that you think the audience should read? So, other than fanatical prospecting, are there any business books or any books specifically that you think the audience would benefit from?
Oh, let's see, I mean, fanatical prospecting for sure I read a couple years ago, and that just, like, drove in, the need to
Mhm.
to prospect every day. Richest Man in Babylon is a good one.
I love that book.
Yep, that's
Uh,
a great book. I think that's just, like, doesn't matter what year it is, that book's been around for a long time. I just think that book is the message will never gets old and never changes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Another great book was The Four Agreements.
Oh, that's so good.
Such a
Yes.
good book, and such a hard book to live by.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that I think that's a really impactful book to stay fresh on,
Hmm.
and that's a really good one. And
Yeah.
if you are a high producer, I think Winning from Tim Grover
Mm.
is a good book. It makes you realize that winning is hard. It's painful. It's brutal. Everything he talks about in the book, and you don't get a lot from the book other than you get to relate with other people, and you just realize that this grind is really hard and winning is hard. But I think knowing that is important.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree, dude. And then after you've won, you take a look around and you're like, oh shit, I got to go grind
Yep,
again.
that's
Like
right.
you don't win and stay one. You win and
Yeah,
then you got to go compete again.
absolutely.
So
Yeah. Let's see. Blue Ocean Strategy is a good one. It's
yes. Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
figuring out like who your client is. Um, and then this is a real estate book, but there was one that's Ninja Selling.
Oh,
I
I've not
actually
heard of
think
that
ninja
one.
selling is really applicable for
I'll
a
write that
lot of
down.
industries. It just breaks down for realtors a very organic way to run your business.
Mm.
And a lot of what they talk about in there, I think, is a great book as well.
Dude, some stellar
Yeah.
recommendations there, man. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Brian, like, thanks for hanging out with us today, pal.
Thank you.
For everybody that's enjoyed the show and wants to learn more about you and follow you online, what are some good places to find you?
Yeah. Instagram's the best. It's just at Brian Manning Team.
Hmm. Okay.
My website's brianmanningteam.com, but Instagram's the best place to follow us and learn about us.
That's pretty straightforward, man. We will get
Yeah.
those links in the show notes. Brian, dude, thank you so much
Perfect.
for hanging out, man. It's been my
My
pleasure.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, that was Brian Manning. Please do me a favor. If you have enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, run on over to his social, Brian Manning Team on Instagram, and give him a follow. And man, I just loved having him on. It's been a great day. All right, that's going to do it from us for today. You'll be good, stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on this week's Friday Fire. Bye. All right, guys, that wraps up another episode of the Small Business Surgeon podcast. I hope that you have taken away some valuable insights from today's show. If you did and enjoyed it, be sure and hit that like and subscribe button and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're serious about growing your business and you want to be a part of a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, just go to followsam.live and join our free group, The Clinic. All right, I'll see you next week.